We're on the air. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. And I want to thank the Joe and the media studio here for allowing us to be here this afternoon, or this morning, I should say. I'm here today with the Coalition of Independent Childcare Providers of Ontario. As you know, I'm the new critic for education and the Ministry of Training, College and Universities. Garfield Dunlop, the MPP for Simcoe North, I should point out that first. One of the bills that we'll be debating likely this fall is Bill 10, the Child Care Modernization Act. Certainly, I have been briefed by the ministry on this bill, but soon after that, and that was back in July, I should say, and soon after that, I started getting a lot of comments, first of all from my caucus members, and now I've had a lot of negative feedback on this bill from numerous organizations across the province. So clearly, you know, and Heidi Higgins, who is with me here today from the Coalition of Independent Child Care Providers of Ontario, she'll be making more comments than me. However, my understanding already is that the bill is flawed in many ways. And one of the things I hope that both our House leaders will agree with, and the government and the Ministry of Education, I hope that they will certainly have the patience to make sure this bill goes to full traveled committee, so that we can make sure that we get proper amendments put in place, and we get a chance so that all the people in Ontario, not just people around the Queen's Park area, but people right across the Ontario, can actually have an input into what happens in this bill. Because I think in its current form, there are a number of issues with the bill. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Heidi Higgins, and Heidi will make her comments, and then we'll take any questions and any feedback on this bill. Heidi?
Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Dunlop, for having us here today. As Mr. Dunlop said, my name is Heidi Higgins, and I'm speaking this morning on behalf of the Coalition of Independent Childcare Providers of Ontario. CICP was founded to voice the grave concerns of thousands of parents and childcare providers across Ontario about Bill 10, the Child Care Modernization Act. Specifically, the proposed reductions to the number and ages of children independent child care providers can care for. While CICPO is in full support of improving childcare in Ontario, there are two major issues with this bill that must be brought to the attention of Ontario's families. The first is that, should it pass, Ontario families will face a childcare crisis of enormous proportion. Right now, only 22% of Ontario's children are in licensed care, while family members and independent child care providers, ICPs, care for the remaining 78%. In real numbers, approximately 350,000 children are cared for by ICPs in Ontario. CICPO conservatively estimates that 140,000 of the 350,000 current spaces will be lost due to the forced reduction of spaces and daycare closures. In fact, some spaces are already lost. We have reports that some providers have already terminated their clients and closed their doors, seeking employment elsewhere in anticipation of this bill passing. The remaining 210,000 spaces will come at a premium, as those parents whose providers work within the proposed new limits will have to face a fee hike by as much as 40%. Promises by the Minister of Education of an additional 6,000 licensed spots is not only theoretical, but will do nothing to stem the tide of this crisis. Furthermore, decreasing accessibility will only contribute to an underground market. Care will be in such high demand that parents will be more likely to accept substandard care arrangements. Secondly, this bill does not address individual licensing of home daycare providers. ICPs are not unlicensed by choice. No individual home daycare provider can obtain a license in Ontario, as the government only provides licensing to agencies and centres. Those providers affiliated with an agency are working under their agency's license, not their own. However, instituting a government registry or licensing of all home daycare providers would ensure that all providers have current CPR and first aid, police background checks. Every provider would be open to inspection by the Ministry of Education to ensure that they are in compliance with the law and health and safety regulations. Licensing would allow for 100% government oversight rather than relying on the public to report noncompliance. And here's one other very significant benefit. ICPs would be able to care for the thousands of children currently on subsidized wait lists. As at December 2013, there were almost 17,000 children on the subsidy wait list in Toronto alone. Clearly, the licensed sector does not have the capacity to meet the needs of the Ontario families as we speak. Unfortunately, too few families and providers are aware of this bill and its repercussions. Education Minister Liz Sandals states that this bill will strengthen the safety and quality of childcare options for families. With no data to substantiate her argument, the minister has repeatedly alleged that ICP care is unsafe across the board. While CICPO has confirmed that the ministry has undertaken no analysis regarding the safety of ICP care, our coalition has. Using a cohort of 0 to 4 years of age, CICPO gathered information from the Ontario Coroner's Office, reports of deaths of children in the care of ICPs, and population reports from StatsCan over the period of 2009 to 2013. With the above data, CICPO found that the 5-year mortality rate to children in the care of an ICP operating within the current regulations is 0.000017%. As Minister Sandals will not provide equivalent data for children in licensed care in terms of either death, injuries, or complaints, we are unable to make a comparative analysis to licensed care. However, we can calculate that the overall mortality rate of children in Ontario over the same period is 50 times greater than that of ICP care. Thus, despite the 6 tragic deaths that have occurred in the last 5 years, ICP care provides a safer environment for our children than that experienced by Ontario children in general. These facts and calculations do not make the 6 deaths that took place over the last 5 years any less tragic. Yet the fact that only one of those deaths was classified as accidental and occurred with an ICP in compliance with the current regulations clearly indicates that the real issue is not the existing regulations, but the lack of oversight that prevents providers from working outside the law. Although Minister Sandals promises that this bill will provide the oversight necessary to ensure ICPs caring for more children than the law allows, the promise is an empty one. One cannot shut down what one cannot find. As long as this government refuses to facilitate a registry or licensing system for individual daycare providers, there will never be effective oversight. Minister Sandals' encouragement of ICPs joining licensed agencies to prevent this crisis is disobliging at best, as the fees charged by agencies would result in ICPs absorbing an average income loss of 20%. To briefly recap, should Bill 10 pass, with its proposal to reduce the number and age ratios of children ICPs can care for, we can expect the following. Approximately 140,000 children will have their care terminated, and their parents will have no options for their care. As there is no grandfather clause in the bill, the terminations will be immediate. Parents will face a hike of up to 40% in daycare fees. There will be 0 additional oversight. Providers will lose an average of between $12,000 and $20,000 of family income per year through the involuntary reduction of spaces or by being coerced to work for a licensed agency. Families who are already struggling financially may choose that one parent give up work, as the increase in daycare fees will negate take-home pay. In short, rather than making childcare in Ontario safe, affordable, and accessible, Bill 10 will make childcare in Ontario far less accessible, far more expensive, and absolutely no safer. These ratio proposals are not only counterproductive to the health, safety, and well-being of our children, but are also playing with the livelihoods of tens of thousands of families in this province. If Bill 10 is intended to address this government's stated concerns regarding the overall safety and lack of oversight that exists for children in the care of ICPs, CICPO and its members would like to know why this government insists on addressing these problems by reducing accessible and affordable childcare by 40% rather than providing an individual licensing system that includes all home daycare providers. Instituting such a system would maintain the choices parents demand, ensure that government-regulated health and safety standards are met, allow for inspections, and eliminate the wait list for subsidized care. We appeal to this government to reconsider these proposed amendments and urge Ontario's families to register their objections with their MPPs as well as directly to Educationer Minister Sandals. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Those are our comments today. I just want to stress one further thing. Thank you very much, Heidi, for being here.
you.
And I think it's really important that all three parties agree that with these kinds of concerns out there, and there will be more press conferences and there'll be more media events with other stakeholders as well on this bill, that I think what's really important at this stage for the Minister's office to know and the House leaders to know is that we must, in fact, have traveled this bill in the winter
Absolutely.
after the Christmas recess and get full public consultation and input on this bill and the proper amendments put into place so that we don't lose 140,000 daycare spaces in the province. So thank you very much, everyone. Is there anyone that would like to ask any questions? With that, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Everyone have a great day. And once again, Joel, thanks very much for the opportunity to be at the media studio. Thank you.